What's up, everybody? Welcome to an incredible Zoom meeting here. And you're in for a special treat. You know that this is one that actually has not been given in 2 years. And just from the initial feedback, you actually waited 2 years for this. That's the last time that our featured speaker we were able to do this with. And so you are so fortunate. You're so lucky. We're so blessed to be able to have really somebody who has no equal in this profession. And that's the magic of what we do, how we do it, and much, much more. As many of you know, there are two trainings that are coming up, and I'll go over what I'd like to do with you, if it's okay with you, is, and we've got like a lot of people here. You know what I love about this? This is actually so unique and so different, is that this Zoom meeting definitely attracts doctors that are so interested in this because this is so topical. In other words, this is so applicable to what you do in practice. And I know what you're thinking right now, and you're probably saying to yourself, well, gee, isn't this about risk management and malpractice and bulletproofing and how to manage disc cases in the best way? And the answer is emphatically yes. But as you know, historically in these dynamics, risk management sometimes is a heavy burden to bear. It is for a lot of doctors. And our featured speaker makes it so enlightening, so positive, so educational. And what he really, really does is he allows doctors the opportunity, in essence, to be not reactive, but to be proactive. Now, think about that for a second. In other words, in the classic sense, right? If you're not compliant, if you're not doing it the way you are designed to do it, the right way, in a compliant way, then a lot of times you're playing catch up. Well, what our featured speaker, and you know who we're talking about, the incredible Dr. Salvatore LaRusso, what he does is he actually puts you in a position to be proactive. And when you run a successful practice, when you run a successful business, that's the only way that you can do it. So with your approval, what I'd like to do is I'm going to jump right into slides. I want to show you some stuff. What I love about you guys here, and oh my gosh, we've got Ohio, and we've got Wyoming, and we've got Texas, and we've got Louisiana, and I can go on and on. Yeah, yeah. It's great. I'm so thankful and I'm so happy, both Dr. Kaplan and I, that this Zoom meeting is so well attended by our family of Disc Centers of America doctors worldwide. Yes, it's that cool. So let's go into slides, and we're going to kick it off. You ready? Here we go. Let me see if I can do this. I think I can do it. Ready? Technology. Here we go. Yeah, baby, let's go. All right, beautiful. I love it. All right. So what I want to do is I want to actually compress my screen a little bit here so I can actually look at you. See? Not looking at you, looking at you. Here we go. Let's go to work. All right. So this topic, as I mentioned, is one that attracts so many doctors for the obvious reasons, and that is you want to run the best, smartest, most efficient, most compliant, most bulletproof practice on the planet. So many of you know, many of you have attended our trainings, our Zoom meetings, our workshops, our master classes, our certifications, our boot camps. I can go on and on. But there are people here, yes, for the first time ever at our Zoom meeting, and you've never met us before, and we've never met you before. So welcome to the party. Welcome to your Zoom training. And this Zoom training is actually brought to you on behalf of both myself and Dr. Kaplan, and talking about someone having no equal in this business. Oh gosh, as you know, he has no equal, and you're about to learn why. You'll see why. So what I'd love for you guys to do is take out a piece of paper, take out a pen, and we're going to do this up front. Now, the reason we're doing this up front is because the last time we did this, a lot of times, as you know, when we get feedback, a lot of times the feedback we get is, oh, why did you save that till the end? And you're right. So we're going to show it to you in the beginning because we want you to mark your calendar for the two biggest, the two most important trainings of the entire year. They're both coming up. They happen to be, remarkably, 2 weeks apart. The first training is the business of non-surgical spinal decompression success. And this is a training that is the #1 most popular training of its type. And this training is taking place on Saturday, November 8th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Seats are flying, and I mean flying, like the highest demand we've ever had for seats for some reason. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. You can probably figure that out on your own. The website, vegaschiroevent.com. The phone number, 888-990-9660. You can call that phone number as soon as this training is over. Some of you can even get a head start on it if you want. You can call that training and try to lock down a seat if you can. The one on November 8th is the business of success. It's about patient attraction strategies. It's about creating a wow experience for your disc patients. It's about creating and attracting creating better portals of entry for high quality patients, for patients with protruding discs, bulging discs, degenerative discs, herniated discs, and so much more. You've seen, if you have the American Chiropractor, you've probably already seen this already. That's why a lot of the seats were already scooped up. The date, November 8th. Yes, Dr. Kaplan and myself, because of demand, many of you know we did this once this year, and we could have filled the room 4 times over. In other words, we could have sold 4 times the amount of seats that closed out. We promised everybody if we could come back in 2025, we would. They worked out our schedule. November 8th is the date. Go to the website, vegaschiroevent.com, and if you read the writing on the wall, there's only one word that describes this training. It is a wow experience. It's my favorite training that we do all year long. I always start off the training by repeating those words because it's the most plug and play, real deal. 1,000 pages of content in your hand, nothing to sign, no pressure, no obligation. So much fun. But you'll take the tools, the content, the materials, the information, the education. You'll return back to your office on Monday ready to go to work. Now, the only disadvantage that you guys have, unfortunately, is because these ads are already in chiropractic economics. They're already on the internet. They're already in the American Chiropractor. And most people, they got a little bit of a head start on you. And there was a wait list. So what we did was we took the wait list from the prior Chiro event that was already sold out, and we gave them first access to the Las Vegas Chiro event. So don't get closed out. Go there. You will love it. It is in such a 5-star location. We have so much fun doing this. It's a great way to create momentum for the back end of 2025 and 2026. Obviously, we talk about the cash model. That's what Dr. Kaplan and I teach. We teach the ultimate cash model in non-surgical spinal disc care, peripheral neuropathy care, and even knee care, knee packages, and so much more. We just did a boot camp this weekend. It was standing room only, and it was the greatest boot camp we ever gave. That's not, just ask anybody who was there, the amount of tools, content, material. We've got so much stuff in the pipeline that is actually already loaded for the next training. So you guys are going to love it. Saturday, November 8th, write it down, Las Vegas, Vegas Chiro Event. Call the number to actually register. You can go to the website to learn about it, but to actually get the seat, you're going to have to call that number and speak to one of our team members. You could speak to Michael or Lacey or Stephanie or Amy or any one of our members of our team. And now we get a chance to talk about really something that you guys have waited for. Yeah, you've waited a long time for this. It is the National Spinal Decompression Certification. The website is decompressioncertified.org. This is the 13th time that we are actually teaching this program. This is a university-based program. It is a Life University program. It is a CEU program. It is a certification and a certificate program, and it only happens 1 time per year. The date, Saturday, October 25th. It will be held at the Grand Ballroom of the Trump National Property campus in Jupiter, Florida. You 1,000%, not 999, 1,000% must be pre-registered. There are no late signups, and I have a feeling if it's been like the past 4 years, 4 years in a row, this completely sold out. Sold out and standing room only. And once it sells out, they shut the website down, as you know. And there are no late signups, and they do not allow anybody, because of the security of the property, because it is the private property of the President of the United States. The security is very, very rigid, and so there's no way to actually get in at that point. But listen, life favors the action takers, and it's an incredible, incredible program. It's actually taught by Dr. Kaplan, Dr. Jason Kaplan, Dr. Salvatore LaRusso, who is our featured speaker here on our Zoom meeting. And there's just so much to learn. One of the things that I'm most excited about for this training is the simple fact that there's a brand new manual, 250 pages, brand new manual. The manual alone is worth its weight in gold. There's so much research. There's so much science. There's brand new forms in this. You could take this manual and just go to work. The manual alone is worth its weight in gold. And the only way to get it is you must be there live on Saturday, October 25th. And this is really what I'm excited about, because we really put so much new information in it. And it is goosebumps for us. Many of you have seen the poster, but one of the things that the doctors love, love, love about this training is these are speakers. We attract speakers that don't speak for any other audience. They speak for the National Spinal Decompression Certification, and they're incredibly loyal to this program. The doctors are in love with them. We have one of the absolute top medical neurologists in the world speaking. We actually, right now, we have two of the top orthopedic surgeons in the world speaking. We have an NFL player with 3 Super Bowl rings. Count them, 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of bling, man. And he will be there. He will be there taking pictures with all 3 Super Bowl rings, signing pictures. He will be there. And then we've got some guest stars and some new surprises and some guest lecturers that are actually not even on the poster. We wanted to surprise you. And obviously, if you look to the bottom right, you're going to see the incredible Dr. Salvatore LaRusso there. And, Dr. Kaplan and I, this was really the vision, the dream, and really I would say, the passion, the love of Dr. Kaplan's commitment to our profession with regarding to giving doctors the tools, the content, the information, the education, and the energy. He brings so much energy to the stage. It's freaky. And when I say freaky, it is really, really unmatched. There is nothing like it in the profession. Try to scoop up a seat if they're not gone already. And that brings us to really, really our highlight here tonight, which is, and I always tell him, your lecture, Dr. LaRusso, is absolutely one of the greatest, one of my favorite lectures, because there is no better storyteller in this business of, forgive the term, situation. And what do I mean by that? There are so many chiropractors who have situations of what they do right, what they do wrong. And it's so important. And as you know, he's a former president of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. He is the lead expert witness for the top companies in the world in terms of malpractice carriers. There really is nobody else like him. And I can rant and rave about him. And no one has a resume like him. And but instead of me ranting and raving about him and introducing him, what I'd love to do here is I would love to allow Dr. Kaplan to come on here and talk about the Seton Hall, Fairleigh Dickinson connection. Yeah, baby, that goes back to, they've had a relationship now for easily over 40 plus years. And I'm so taken by that, because this is a friendship. This is a connection. This is a bond. I'm going to say, I don't like to use the 4-letter word, but yeah, it's the LOVE word, but I'm going to give you another 4-letter word. Ready? It's SOUL. These guys are soulmates, man. I'm telling you. Imagine, just think about this before Dr. Kaplan comes on, just for a sec. Just think about it. This is like imagine being like an undergraduate college and knowing Dr. LaRusso and knowing Dr. Kaplan. That's literally like having like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig on your Little League team. Little did you know what would happen. And there's a reason for that. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. If you're around them, you're going to learn why they have no equals in this profession. And there's a synergy you will see here and more. And I love your hat, Dr. Kaplan, by the way. I'm telling you, You've got the swag going on. I don't know if anybody saw my new swag tonight on the
I
new.
forgot to bring mine home.
I know it's in the office from boot camp, but I'm getting
Send
a
me
lot of
another
feedback
one.
on it.
Send me another one.
I'll get you. I promise I'll get you another one. Dr.
And we'll,
K, would
and we'll
you
get one for
be,
Sal.
would you share from the heart, and that's the only way that you know how to do it, a little bit about why we are in stratified air here tonight, live on our Zoom meeting, with someone who has no equal in this profession, and there's a distinct reason why. Can you share a little bit about you know who?
First of all, there are very few people that are as committed to the profession. So, as I talk about Sal, I want everybody to write the word down why. WHY. Simple. And then I'm going to break it down to an acronym. But before I do that with the why, you got to ask yourself a question. Why should somebody choose you as a doctor? Why would they go to you? So many times when people talk about you, what do they say? Oh, imagine two of your patients talking or for referral. Oh, he's okay. He's good. Yeah, I like him. He's funny. Or did they say he's the best? Sal and I, for 40 years, worked both with the love of the profession to be the best. And, people talk about competition. Sal's practice, Perry, was literally 1.5 miles to 2 miles from me. And we each used to see, not cities away, 2 miles maximum. And we used to see 200 people a day. But the funny thing is with Sal, if I saw 201, he saw 202. If I saw 202, he saw 205. I mean, the guy, and I'll tell you, work ethic, the guy works 7 days a week. He said, Dr. Kaplan, he gave me a lecture one time. He says, you need to work Sundays. I worked, Perry, one Sunday. And then I said, Sal, I can't do it. So imagine someone being 2 miles from you, maybe 1.5 miles, each thing. You see, when you're committed to the philosophy, the art, the science, or the science, the art, and philosophy of chiropractic, then you have no competition. See, that's why people will choose you. Remember why. And because the patient wants to know, if you look at the W, what's in it for me? Why should I choose you? Why should I pay you? Why do we, Perry and I, have the largest clinics in the country? Why do we have doctors doing 600,000 to 700,000 a month? What did you say, Dr. Kaplan? 600,000 to 700,000 a month. Why do we have doctors with 13 decompression tables? I'll tell you why. Because nobody performs like we perform. Why did Life University come to Perry and I and say, you know what? We want to open the first CIS center in America with you. Why? One of the reasons why is because Perry and I wrote the definitive book. If you want to know about spinal decompression, and I remember being with DrLaRusso, he said, gee, that book's too big. But you know what? It's never too big for the profession. It's never too big for those that want to be the best. If you want to know, you have to be a better doctor. We make our people better doctors, not better salesmen. Why should you be there in October? Why should you come to Vegas? I'll tell you why. Because you know what? If you want more, then you got to give more. If you want to be the best and you want to provide the best care, second word to write down is care. What does it stand for? C, confidence, commitment, clarity. A, authority. R, research, excellence. See, if you can provide care, and why? Because the H stands for how. How long does it take? How much does it cost? Those are the questions the patient have. How do I become bigger and better? How do I get 13 tables? My son has 4 tables. I mean, going on 5. We just ordered our 5th table. Why? I'll tell you why, doctors, because we make our people better doctors. Why you need to be certified? Why? Because I was just speaking to a doctor today, Dr. Bard. Very funny. And they said, well, what do I do if they have 1 herniation? What do I do if they have 2 herniations? What if they have a bulge and a herniation? What do I do? What? Why? How do I charge them? These are things that we're going to go over. Imagine in October, we have 2 orthopedic surgeons, 1 neurologist. We have a neuroradiologist. If you want to be the best doctors, listen, medical doctors are not the enemy, and they're not the competition. They're allies. They're allies, and they're here to help you. And you're going to meet them. Why do we have NFL players like Dwayne Clemens coming? Why? because he loves chiropractic. Why? Because it put him back on the field. And he's not the only NFL player that will be there. Why? Because nobody's bigger than Dr. Bard and myself. You know, Richard Branson, I say all the time, said there's the three I's. They're the innovators. That's Perry and I. I don't care what anyone says. We brought decompression to the forefront of this profession. There are the innovators. There are the imitators. Okay, there are people that imitate us. Why? Because, you know, listen, we're number one. It's okay. But it's the third eye, the idiots. The idiots rooting for everybody. You know, and our profession is filled. Listen, I've always said my most famous line is chiropractors circle the wagons and they shoot at each other. And you know what? One of the things that Dr. LaRusso does, you know, Sal, who went to Seton Hall, we talk about it. I went to school down the road. We both went to New York Chiropractic College, which now no longer has the name New York Chiropractic College, which I still can't understand when like Northeast College of Health Sciences. Why do in our profession, why doctors, they keep taking the word chiropractic? I mean, why would a school take that away? New York Chiropractic College. What is better than that, right, Josh Hand? Josh Hand, future superstar. You people will be more familiar with him and what we're going to do at Life University. Imagine the first disc center in the world will be at Life University. And by the way, who's the chief compliance officer? Sal LaRusso. Why? Former head of the board, president of the board in Florida. But that was just the beginning for Sal. What did he do next? He became the president of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. Oh, but that wasn't the end for Dr. LaRusso. Let me tell you what he does. God forbid, and he'll talk about it tonight, you get involved in a malpractice case. Guess who one of the experts is in the United States? Dr. LaRusso. The largest malpractice carriers in the country, they go to him to protect you. Meaning he's going to protect you and he's going to tell you things that you're going to get at the national certification, like the proper intake form, like the proper informed consent form. You want to be the best doctors, you want to bulletproof your practice. Why? To this date, I don't think at this Centers America Clinic has ever been under that thing. And why? Because we have the relationship with Dr. LaRusso. Why? Because there's nobody better. Why? Because he studies every single component. He knows about decompression. Why? Because he asks us why he's read the book, why he's involved with our neuropathy book. You see, what does it take, doctors, to be the best? I want somebody to say to you, you're the best. I can look at Dr. LaRusso in the eyes and say, you son of a gun, you're the best at what you do. And that's why he's the chief compliance officer, not only for us, we have him now going to be doing it at Life University. Sal's going to be a founder. And for all of our clients that want to be founders, give us a dollar. We're filling up. We're not taking 1 million founders that it will make this Life University clinic special. And, you know, like I said, I've known Sal for 40 plus years and his passion never rescinds, Perry. He keeps getting more passionate, more dedicated. He serves the profession. He serves his patients. He cares. And again, the word care, confidence, commitment, clarity, authority, research, and excellence. Sal represents care better than anyone. Why? Because that's who he is. How does he do it? He works at it continuously. He studies, he reads. And the why, what does the why stand for? The why stands for you, doctors. The future of this profession is in your hands. You know, here we are. I tell you about my handbook to success. It's all in your head. Why do some people do successful and why are some people not successful? We give you the formulas, doctors. So if you want to come and you want to, we gave you 2 programs. You want to come and be better than you are? Because let me tell you, what is insanity? Doing the same thing the same way. Why are you here tonight? I'm going to tell you why you're here tonight. You want more. Well, then you got to give more care. You have to be the best. And one of the ways to be the best is you have to bulletproof your practice. I want to tell you that one of the reasons that people get sued, chiropractors, for malpractice is for disc. Many people that do disc don't know what they're doing. And you know, if you spoke to Perry about the acronym of DISC, it stands for Decompression and Specialized Chiropractic. And nobody knows how to prepare you, bulletproof you, and prepare you better than Sal LaRusso. He's climbed the mountain, and you know what? He's continuing to climb. So without any further ado, Perry, let's bring on Dr. LaRusso.
You bet. I have a great idea. So what we're going to do is there's actually an outline that he's going to go by And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go super quick. I want to show you a couple of questions that he's going to tackle right here, right now. So get your pens out real quick. I'll show them to you, and then we're going to bring him on because this is probably this is probably the best place to start here. And what we'll do is this. Let's start with the most common questions, which is number one, why do I need a spinal decompression university certificate? Great question. He's going to tackle that. Should I be certified more than once? Ooh, love that question. Does my staff need to be certified? He's going to tackle that. Why is certification different when given by a university than the equipment company of a table? That's a big question. And obviously, last but not least, how important is the informed consent form, and are all of them the same in every state? So it is such an honor and it is such a pleasure to bring on really our featured speaker here and one of the absolute leaders. Really, if there is a Mount Rushmore in chiropractic, he's on it. That's how big he is. So welcome, Dr. LaRusso.
Welcome. Can everybody hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, it sounded okay. It's going to be tough to follow up that introduction with the the accolades you threw my way, but I'm basically a humble person. I appear in court a lot, so I'm not a flashy type of guy, but I pride myself on knowing my work, knowing what I know and what I don't know. So in my experience, and I've got a lot of experience in regulation, because years back I was practicing, I had 7 clinics, high volume. I wound up having some regulatory issues. And with these regulatory issues, I became involved with regulatory agencies, meaning the regulatory board, State Board of Chiropractic. And I realized that the people that were on there that were regulating weren't really practicing chiropractors. These were, sort of like your career politicians who get into a position, really haven't actually done the work. They're not in the trenches seeing patients like you and I were, like many of you are. These are guys that make a living, just make a living off the back of disciplining and setting up the rules and parameters for chiropractors. So, in my journey, I was appointed by 3 different governors to the board, Democrats and Republicans, and I was chair multiple times of the state regulatory board. One of the issues that I deal with now, the prominent issue, is in defense of litigation issues involving malpractice and negligence. And just to touch base on the parameters of malpractice, whenever there's a malpractice or a negligence claim against a doctor, first thing that happens is they set you up and they come in and they get your records. They ask for generally your records, and then they'll set you up for deposition. And the basic threshold is that they have to prove that you violated the standard of care in your profession, in your community. And I hope everybody here understands what the standard of care is. And just briefly, a small summary is it's that which any other chiropractor would have done, given the same training, the same experience in dealing with a patient presenting with the same issues. So in other words, if a patient came into your office with a certain situation, 9 out of 10 chiropractors would do one thing, and always you're going to have an outlier that's going to do something, off the chart with the patient. That would be a violation of the standard. It's based on your education, training, and some of your experience, but it's scoped in the parameters of what your state allows. So the first thing is that they have to prove that you violated the standard of care. And once they can break that threshold, then what they do is they come and they look at your records and they look at your practice and they start nitpicking. And the very first thing they're going to look at, especially in very high litigation states, state like Florida, California, and all states are a little bit different in their regulation and their licensing, has to do with informed consent. And informed consent is not a blanket document that we chiropractors have a habit of just putting in with your initial paperwork when the patient comes in the office. Most chiropractors traditionally, and they do this in medical offices and in hospitals, is they just hand the patient a stack of forms and ask you to date it and sign everything, and they assume you're going to read it. Well, I want to tell you that informed consents that aren't properly executed and witnessed are easily defeated. And when you have an informed consent that becomes defeated in an analysis of your care of a patient, they can now come after you for violating the practice standard because the law.
Sal,
go ahead.
So I'm going to ask you a question. So listen, that we're going to give those out at the national certification.
Yes.
And one of the things that we talked about, Sal, tell them why, Sal. Let's get right to the meat and potatoes. Why do they need to be nationally certified?
Well, because once they breach the umbrella of your protection, which is they prove that you violated the standard of care and they prove that you now have an improper informed consent, which means you didn't notify the patient in advance, they start to ask you things like, well, doctor, where did you learn to do this technique? Okay, and I want to make it clear that none of these techniques, none of this decompression is taught in a CCE approved program. So in other words, if it's taught in your core curriculum of a CCE accredited institution, you're sort of under an umbrella of safe harbor where this is part of your training and it's part of the training of all chiropractors. But because it's taught post-grad, what they do is they come in and they want to ask you questions like, doctor, where did you get your training? So could you imagine me defending a doctor where it's a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because somebody's got a cauda equina syndrome now, and they're 27 years old, and they went into the chiropractor and they had an injury as a result of their treatment. And they asked the doctor, where did you learn to do this technique? And the doctor says, I learned it from a video. And I have cases where that's the answer. And I have to cringe, and I look at the carrier and I look at whoever I'm working on behalf of, and I say, it's tough to get over that. It's tough to get over that concept to a jury that this person has employed a technique that wasn't taught in their educational program, wasn't taught by a chiropractic college, wasn't taught by a recognized agency of licensed physicians. It was taught by a video that was produced by either the manufacturer of the table or somebody, just selling their concept of spinal decompression, which oftentimes really isn't spinal decompression. I just had a case recently with this ring-a-ding type of stuff. I don't want to say the proper name, but you're going to get the idea, where they wrap a towel around this patient's neck, and without no specificity, they create a jerk. And they want to call that chiropractic. I mean, Jesus, BJ Palmer had a saying that 50% of the people you can throw down a flight of stairs and they're going to get better. Well, these guys have maximized that. I want to tell you, when you put a towel around somebody's neck and you can't isolate the level that you're going to exert the pull or the traction, which hopefully becomes decompression, when you can't produce that specificity, you might as well try a stair, because it's a very dangerous procedure.
So,
so the training becomes important.
How do you airplane on QTE? How do you airplane your iPhone QTE? So this should
Terry, I don't know why the president is on. Maybe because he might be there in October. You never know.
Is that's Trump on the bottom there, right?
The question I'm going to ask you, Sal, is, so now, will we do a national certification through Life University, where we bring in medical doctors to some level? Doesn't that safe harbor them? Do they say, I've done continuing education, I've worked on the manual, I've done this through Life University, not once, not twice, but 3 times? Meaning, I agree with you, because if they're just certified by the manufacturer, that really literally does nothing for me. But if they do it through a university where they're getting continuing education units, although, Sal, it's not our end game, which you and I know what it is, I think in the interim, tell them why they need to be there in October.
Well, you need to be there in order to document your training. And the questions in a deposition if you're defending yourself in a case, is they're going to ask you, what training do you have in this technology? So it always does good for you to say, well, I've got 8 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours, I've got 30 hours, I've got 50 hours of training in this technology from an organization that is sponsored by an accredited university. It gives a lot more credibility to you as a doctor than it does if you say, well, I bought the equipment and I learned from the guy who sold me the equipment how to use it. Or I bought the equipment and I learned from a YouTube video or a video that they gave me on a cassette or on a CD on how to use the equipment. That doesn't sound good to imagine if you were on a jury and you heard somebody say that in their defense. Well, I bought this piece of equipment and I've been, charging these people $3,500 for a certain number of sessions, and I've been putting these high risk people with disc injuries or disc problems on this table, and I learned from a YouTube. I mean, it's hard to get around that. I don't care whatever happens in the rest of the case. It's hard to get over that initial shock that a juror is going to say, take that as penny, they're going to say, I can't believe that this guy's a professional and he learned something on a weekend seminar or from a table manufacturer on how to use this technology on a patient, and the patient wound up with a cauda equina or wound up with a severe disc injury.
And that's why, Sal, we recommend, people that have been certified, not only should they be certified, Sal, through a university, which we do through Life University, but shouldn't their staff be certified? Because they're putting them often on the table to tell them why the staff needs to be certified.
Well, anybody who's involved in using this technology and working with a patient should be able to document some training. Now, in a state like Florida, what happens is if I'm licensed, I'm the licensed practitioner, I can delegate certain responsibilities to a patient or to an employee on what to do with a patient. But there's a limitation on that, because ultimately they're going to go to that person, that individual, and say, are you confident in working with this equipment? What type of training did the doctor give you? So either you're going to train the patient or you're going to bring them to a program where they're going to get the same training as you. And I would highly recommend that not only the doctor, but the doctor's staff or any of your key employees that are assisting you in treating the patient with this technology document training. And you should document it in their personnel profile. You should have a profile in each one of your employees that show that they've had training on certain dates and so many hours.
Sal, working with you has been such a pleasure, because what we're going to do actually is, besides that, Sal, we have the major book, and I know you made us write the student edition, of which, just so everybody knows this, I mean, and I say this, and I'll fix that in a second. It falls down sometimes. Perry and I donate all of our time to Life University. I mean, all the monies go to Life University. And one of the things that we do, Sal, in doing this, we give out a disc, okay, of the student edition, which has many major research studies. Why? Because we believe that even though you're going to get 9 CEUs, the training continues, Sal, afterwards. Meaning, I want the doctors to be able to say, I've been nationally certified. Not once, not twice. Like you said, they start adding up the hours. I mean, we have one doctor, Carrie Gurgis, coincidentally, who has 13 tables, Sal, right? And he's probably been, if we've done 13 of these, he's been to 13 of them. And that's why, where does he get most of his practice? He gets a lot of medical referrals, because now he has over 100 hours, okay, in decompression. And that's what we try to do, Sal, with Life University. We're so excited that in the revenues that we create through the new clinic, Sal, it's going to go to more research studies. We are going to work with Dr. Fogarty's and Dr. McCauley on getting, modules, technique taught at the school. But we also have to be able, Sal, for the people that didn't have any training in school to be able. Now, one of the things that we teach, Sal, and we'll talk about it, besides you're going to provide them with your intake form at the certification, besides you're going to provide them with the other forms that we discussed, but we're also going to provide them with, they're going to see the Shealy protocols. Norman Shealy, Harvard University, MD, PhD, Sal, right? The protocols that we teach at the seminar are the Shealy protocols. Now, why is that important? Because my son, Jason Kaplan, is going to teach him how to put, Sal, there's putting them on the table, taking them off the table. There's protocols that need to be learned, and we teach that over and over, from belting the patient to putting them on the table to taking them off the table. And that's why one of the things that I love about you, Sal, because you've educated me on the ability of risk management. And matter of fact, I want to tell you something, Sal. It's because of you that we started doing this. We started with Parker University, and then we went to Life University because of Dr. Fogarty. But we started doing the national certification, Sal, because I believe we're the only university-driven program, and we thank you for that. I mean, because you've taken the profession to a higher level.
Well, because being on the side of regulation and being on the side of testing with the national board and the international, what happens is I realize that it's very, very important that you have qualified education in order to validate what it is that you're doing. I mean, there's a lot of hucksters out there. We've all been to 100 seminars. I mean, I've been to probably 1,000 seminars in almost 50 years. And I can tell you that at a seminar, you learn X amount. But the value of training and the value of advanced training and repetitive training is that you get back into the practice and you have a patient it's a difficult case. Okay. Now, if you don't have a consultant to call up or somebody that knows what they're doing, the next training, what you're going to do is you're going to come in with a question, and your question is going to teach everybody else in the room. You see, that's the value of being in person at a program and learning and being able to hear the questions. In my lifetime, I've learned more from reviewing mistakes that everybody else has made. I've learned more from hearing people ask questions and hearing the answers, because I say, you know what? I didn't think of that, but you know what? That's a better way. And there's nothing better than having in-person training, especially on a technology that you're going to really wrap your practice environment, your whole practice philosophy is going to be wrapped around this type of disc treatment. What you want is you want to have the ability to listen to questions and answers so that you can more perfect your art, because it is an art. And the better you get at it, the more successful you're going to be. And obviously everything flows from there.
One of the things, Sal, that we talk about, even people that utilize certain knee equipment, we're not going to mention any names, but there's knee equipment, Sal, that's not FDA cleared medically. Matter of fact, North American Medical, working with Norman Shirley, it's the only FDA cleared for medical equipment for the treatment of knee problems. And, I think you've taught me so well that they're going to ask you in a malpractice case. And Sal, isn't it a fact that disc injuries and the non-proper diagnosis and the non-treatment is one of the major causes of malpractice insurance?
Absolutely.
Malpractice.
Disc injuries and disc-related injuries are a top 3 cause of all malpractice litigation, along with misdiagnosis.
I mean, and I think, Sal, again, they're going to learn how to do this at the certification. They're going to get the intake form. They're going to get the informed consent form that you helped us write. They're going to get a generic copy, Sal, that they can have it reviewed for their individual state. I mean, nobody's been better than you in educating not only myself and Dr. Bard, but Dr. Jason Kaplan, Dr. Stephanie Kaplan. Listen, nobody knows more about the equipment than my son. My son can take it apart and put it back together. And nobody's tougher on him, Sal, than you. I mean, you make sure that everybody follows the rules. And you know what Vince Lombardi said, because I know Sal and I are football fans, not that our Giants are doing so good. We'll see how the Yankees do tonight against the Tigers. But one of the things Vince Lombardi said is the object of the game is to win fairly, squarely, by the rules, but to win. And one of the things that Dr. Bard and I do, Sal, working with you, and we just had lunch with you yesterday. We're blessed that you live in South Florida. Is we went through the rules and we talked about, hey, tell them why, Sal, by stacking certification A. So let's talk about what we agreed upon. They should be nationally certified by a university. It helps them. They should have their staff involved. And if they stack it by getting once, twice, 3 times more, lets them become more of an expert. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it sounds much better if during the deposition and during you defending yourself, you can say that you've had 8 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours I mean, the guy that comes in or the people that come in and say, listen, I've had 6 seminar trainings sponsored by an accredited chiropractic university in this technology. Obviously, it makes you sound more credible and more proficient in the technology because you've at least made the effort in order to better yourself and to perfect your art. And it's all about perfecting your art. You know, they call it a practice because the more you do of it, the more practice you get, the better you get. And the more training you get, the better and more efficient you're going to become. And like I said, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than sitting in a room with a bunch of people that are doing the same thing. And you hear a question here, you hear a question there, because we all encounter the same issues. And we all encounter the same doubt, especially with a new technology like spinal decompression. I mean, don't forget, you're dealing with a very, very serious injury in a disc herniation, especially a disc herniation is putting pressure on a cord that could really adversely impact somebody's life if you don't practice it properly or if you're below the standard. But your training is your foundation, in my opinion. It's number one as far as defending you as a competent practitioner.
And you know, Sal, one of the things, that's why we're bringing in not one, but 2 orthopedic surgeons, 2 that have done many spinal procedures. Then you have Norman Shealy, whose protocols we're going to teach, who's a neurosurgeon. After doing my first surgery, I knew it wasn't the answer. And the protocols that we provide, Sal, and that my son teaches, and nobody knows more than Jason does, these are the protocols taught to Perry and I and my son by Norman Shealy, who's the most published in the world on decompression. See, any company can try to copy us, but nobody can put in the time, the energy, and effort. We work with Dr. Dyer. We've worked with Dr. Shealy. We've worked and written a definitive book on this, and we've shared this with Life University, of which all the proceeds of the books go to Life University. Why? Because, Sal, the middle class of chiropractic has gone away. People either making it or not making it. Why? Because some people are more dedicated than others. Our goal is to teach people not how to be better salesmen, not to do a 4-day report of findings. Our goal is to teach them how to be, better doctors. And when we're talking about that, Sal, and you and I talk about this, all the time, that going through a university-driven program, it creates not only credibility, but we're helping to create the standard of care. And I will assure you, in the Disc Center that we will do, the Disc Centers of America, Life University, first outpatient facility in the world done at a chiropractic school, will be done at Life University, which only adds to that credibility. And we will have a program where our doctors are invited, not only to the clinic, Sal and Perry, not only to the clinic, but we'll invite them to the protocol. So here we have 2 orthopedic surgeons. We have a neurologist. We have Rob Burke, who's a neuroradiologist. Imagine, Sal, he talks about he's looked at over 300,000 MRIs, and he's going to teach the doctors at certification what to look for. How valuable is it to have a neuroradiologist teaching MRIs and showing them what to look for in an MRI?
Absolutely. I mean, it's invaluable. It's invaluable. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of is that with this clinic association that you have up at Life University, the doctors that go through that clinic are going to be able to say, in defense of themselves, I learned this at Life University Clinic. I learned how to use this table, and I was supervised in the training and the use at Life University. So that's a monumental step, especially in decompression training, that I don't see anywhere else in the profession. I mean, look at, I'm defending people that go from throwing them down a flight of stairs to wrapping a towel around their neck to jerking their neck with a Y strap, none of which is specific to people that actually have training. So I'm looking at the whole universe, and I want to tell you, I like being able to defend people that have good records and have good training. It makes
I'm going to tell you, Sal,
makes you more defendable.
I'm going to tell you what we're going to do because of what you just said. I will tell you, we'll work it out with Dr. Fogarty and Dr. McCauley, the chairman of the board and the president, 2 people who I not only adore, but I idolize because of their service to the profession. One of the things that we will do sometime for our clients only, initially, is we will do something at the university clinic where they're trained at the university clinic. And I'm going to ask you to be there with us when we do that. So we will have it so that people can say, I was even trained not only am I nationally certified, if they're not nationally certified, I will not allow them in.
Right.
But they can only say, not only was I nationally certified, I attended the Life University Clinic, I was trained at the Life University Clinic, and I utilize the same protocols Life University Clinic, but I'll only allow doctors that are nationally certified, Sal, to attend that. Is that a great idea, or is that a great idea?
It's a phenomenal idea. I think it lends a lot of credibility to your client's training and to your program. But let me tell you about a case I looked at today. Okay, this afternoon I'm looking at a case where where a exaggeratedly obese guy, a gentleman, hurts his back, and he goes into a doc in a box clinic, and they evaluate him, and he's complaining of back pain, leg numbness, legs are feeling funny. He can't sleep, he can't sit. But yet this guy goes to this clinic, and at the clinic they say, well, okay, let's take these anti-inflammatories. I'll give you a Medrol dose pack, and you go on your way. In the meantime, this morbidly obese gentleman, goes out and he goes to a few other places. And lo and behold, somebody says, go to a chiropractor. So he winds up going to a chiropractor one visit. And the chiropractor uses an activator on him. Now, do you believe the guy that's getting sued in this case is the chiropractor? Now, the guy walked in with the problem. He went to a medical clinic with the problem. They didn't diagnose and treat it properly. And then he ultimately winds up in the chiropractor's office. And in one visit, they sue the chiropractor. And you know what the problem is? Is they look at the chiropractor, and the chiropractor, they look at his records and they say, these horrible records. Where's your exam? Where's your review of prior diagnostic imaging? Where's your review of prior records? It makes it a lot more difficult. But ultimately, the point I'm making is I want to show you how litigious and how ridiculous and how exposed we are as a profession, that somebody can walk into a medical clinic and get misdiagnosed, improperly treated, wind up in a chiropractor's office, and the chiropractor gets sued. You know why? Because the chiropractors all have $1 million in malpractice insurance, and the MD is going there. So the PI attorney, what does he say? Let's sue the guy that's got the best insurance coverage. They don't care who's at fault here. They want to sue the guy that's got the best, because that's what attorneys do.
And so I want you to know that it's very, very important that you protect yourself. And the best way to protect yourself is with good documentation, a thorough review of records and imaging before you even touch, whether it's decompression, whether it's an activator, whether it's SOT. You've got to do this in order to protect yourself, because we are in a very litigious society today. And juries always want to give the little guy the benefit of the doubt. They look at the doctor as though you're a successful guy, you're raking in a bunch of money, you've got, let's throw this guy some money. So you really got to protect yourself, and you've really got to take a defensive posture in treating anybody, especially people that are dealing with high-risk patients that have disc problems. So Sal, what I'm getting from this is, let me do like a little brief review in my mind. So what we're saying is, A, records are important. B, they need to have a proper intake form. They need to have the proper informed consent, which, by the way, Sal, thanks to you and the help of my daughter-in-law, Stephanie Kaplan, we're going to provide those at the national certification. So anybody that comes will get those forms. B, then they'll be nationally certified through university. So they'll be nationally certified. They'll be through university. They'll have the proper intake form. They'll have the Shirley protocols. And then for the people that are nationally certified, they will be invited to attend the Life University outpatient clinic, first in the world. So Sal, always starting to end, utilizing the Shirley protocols and understanding the differences in tables, because every table, Sal, has different contraindications. And they have to understand that the table companies, the manufacturers, Sal, they do have liability insurance.
Right.
So by having intake form, informed consent, nationally certified, not once, twice, 3 times, by coming to the clinic in Georgia, all of these things, by learning the Shirley protocols, by having the research book that we're going to give out by this to those people, does that better protect these people?
It sure does. It absolutely puts you at a higher level are a higher threshold for them to overcome in order to show that you violated your standard of care and you didn't do something you were properly trained in. You should never, ever do something that you're not properly trained in. I'll give you another funny vignette because people sort of like my vignettes, and I've reviewed thousands and thousands, probably over 100,000 cases in all my years in regulation. I'm defending a doctor that's billing for massage and laser. Now, this is recent. I don't know how many people in this audience are dealing with laser therapy. But when we get into the deposition and they ask the doctor to demonstrate his use of the laser, he pulls out a laser pointer and he puts it on his thumb and he shines a light. And this doctor was billing for laser therapy with a laser pointer. Not only that, but he was billing for massage therapy by having patients come into his office and sit in a massage chair when they signed in, waiting to come into the treatment room. And these are people you have to defend. I mean, there's no defense, in my opinion, there's no defense for that.
Well, because of that, Dr. LaRusso, one of the things that I will do
hungry?
At the national certification, you know, there are 4 classifications of labels of 1, 2, 3, and 4. My son, Jason Kaplan, has 3s and 4s. I know Dr. Devin Bard has 3s and 4s. So one of the things that we will do is I will have Dr. Devin Bard and Dr. Jason Kaplan being very involved in the certification, talking about lasers, because I know that they both utilize them in their clinics. And as I said, pal, Sal, here we are. What is this, 40 years later? I mean, we knew us, Sal, hold on, when we both had more hair. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, and I got to tell people, Sal took me out to the South Florida Fair. We were both doing screenings. Imagine, we're a mile and a half from each other, right? And he takes me for ribs. And I'm going to tell you, all I know is I ate so many ribs that night. I don't know if I think I had to have an ER visit from that.
You did have an ER visit.
My stomach was as hard as a rock in climate, and nobody.
You never saw somebody eat ribs like this guy. You think he was in a prison and this was his last meal. But here I have a Jewish guy, and I take him to the rib tent at the fair, and all of a sudden it's like, he just hit the lottery. He's eating rib after rib. He's calling for a reload of the ribs. He ate so many, I couldn't get over that he ate.
Hold on. I didn't eat as many as you son of a gun. But the point is, you kept pushing me on. You're such a troublemaker. Have another rib. Have another rib. Have another rib. But you know what? The funny thing is, on Monday, Sal and I must have picked up 50 new patients each that weekend. And here we are within 2 miles of each other. See, the only competition you have, doctors, is in your head. It's all in your head. If you're the best, people will find you. If you become a better doctor, if you service, if you provide better care. One of the other things for all the guests today that have never seen me before, one of the things that we will give you if you come to the national certification is our videos. And for any of my clients that don't have it, we will send them to you, is the 3 C's: the capture, the conversion, and the close. How to get new patients, how to convert new patients, how to close new patients. So we will give you these videos. We'll give you a disc of the definitive student manual that we've donated all the money to Life University. You will get nationally certified with certificate from Life University. This will be an amazing day. Some people say it's like a wedding where we do it. We have a cocktail party at the end of the day. We celebrate one thing and one thing only, Parrot. We celebrate chiropractic. We celebrate that we're in the greatest profession in the world. We celebrate that, as I told my sons, listen, it's the greatest profession, but it's not the easiest business. But you know what, doctors? If you become the best, build the field and they will come. Build the field and they will come. But to build the field, doctors, what do you have to sacrifice? You have to be better than the competition. You have to have the best brand, the best equipment, the best systems, the best technology. Doctors, there's so much that you can do to be the best. And I'm going to tell you, the highlight will be, Sal, spending time with you there and having all these doctors there and you teaching compliance and risk management and letting them know where they get the intakes. This is going to be a phenomenal day. And for anyone that's not certified, you need to be there. For anyone that is certified, you need to add to your hours. For anybody that has any questions, don't hesitate to email us. And as I said, 100% of all the revenues, all the profits will go to Life University. Lunch will be served, breakfast will be served, cocktails will be served after. It's one day to celebrate chiropractic and to be a better doctor. Go ahead, Dr. Bard.
So, one of the things that I love is when you, and I know you probably took some good notes and your head is probably going like, wow, I could do this a lot better than I'm doing right now in practice. I'm going to pay attention to the MRI. I'm going to document in my file that I already had an inherent second opinion already, because now I have a medical radiologist who gave us his interpretation of the diagnostics. Now, one of the things I think is so interesting also too is the simple fact that, and they'll talk about this at the certification, is do you just read the MRI report from the radiologist, or do you actually go over the actual films with the patient? Do you get the films from the radiology center? These are important issues. And one of the things that I love what Dr. LaRusso talks about is he talks about what we call SOC. What is SOC? Simple. Standard of care. Now, Life University has a very, very unique distinction now. It's the only university in the world that actually offers a credentialing certificate program in both the study of non-surgical spinal decompression and in the study of peripheral neuropathy. That was done in the previous February. If you missed it, you missed a great one. What a manual that was. And if you remember when we kicked it off there, we talked exactly about really what Dr. LaRusso spoke about, which is one word, 4 letters. We talked about LOVE. Yeah. We talked about SOUL. Yeah. But we also talked about CARE. And what is CARE? Well, believe it or not, it's an acronym. CARE, and I love when Dr. Kaplan used to say, we continue to grow because we care. Remember that? That was one of the things that he put in every single one of his ads back in the glory days of Family Chiropractic Center, next to the life centers of North Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, and it was such a glorious time. But guess what? This is the greatest time ever to practice. Acronym is simple. C, credentialing. Yeah. Do you know that when you leave the National Spinal Decompression Certification Program, that the postgraduate department already has your certificate printed for you? Yeah, you walk out with your certificate. Yes, you walk out. Your team walks out with their certificates already emblazoned. I love that. C stands for credibility as well. That's how patients choose doctors. A, that's simple. That stands for authority. The R, that's my favorite one. And that stands for respect. How do you build respect? By going all in on investing in you. Invest in your education, invest in your training, invest in your certificate programs, invest in the time, energy, and effort that it takes to put you ahead of everybody else, because you're getting tougher cases. You're getting herniated disc, bulging disc, protruding disc, sequestered disc. And regardless of whether you have an Acuspina, a DRX, a VaxD, a Doc table, a SpineMed, a Chattanooga, a Kennedy table, I can go on and on. We're going to talk all about that at the National Spinal Decompression Certification, because the E in care, what does that stand for? Well, that is education. It also stands for energy. And nobody brings more energy than Dr. Kaplan. Nobody brings more enthusiasm than Dr. Kaplan. And that's why we have so much fun doing these things, because we make it a wow experience. Ask anybody that's ever attended before, and boy, do we have surprises for you this year. So I want to jump back in real quick, because I know my phone is lighting up. Can I show you something really quick though? I want to show you something on my phone, and then I want to show you, I don't know if you can actually see this. I want to show you something that I actually received today, which might blow a few minds today. But I'm going to show you a text actually from our son's office. Now, for some of you who don't know, we've been blessed. Dr. Kaplan and I have 4 sons. All 4 of them are doctors. One is a medical doctor. One is a dental surgeon. And 2 of them are chiropractors. All 4 of them will be at the National Spinal Decompression Certification. So you get a chance to meet them. But one of the crazy things is our son who spent the greatest time learning from the incredible Dr. Jason Kaplan. And we're doing a master class in Dr. Jason Kaplan's office for our family of doctors. If you're not registered, send that registration in. That'll blow your mind. It'll be the greatest master class you've ever seen. We have, oh my gosh, it is the most monetization of a clinic that you've ever seen that afternoon. It's a special gift. And but I got to show you this because our son, Dr. Devin Bard, who is on this right now, wearing that DCOA jacket, if you want to see what he's getting in his clinic, you want to see? You ready for this? Can you see this? Is that hard to see? There it is. Wow. See those x-rays? See those? Those are not generic x-rays from the internet. Those are actual patients in his clinic. Yeah. Do you know what to do with those patients? Do you know how to handle those patients? Do you know how to accept those patients or turn away those patients? You need to know the difference. You need to know that. And one of the things we do is we cover so much of that there. And you see the website, decompressioncertified.org. Let's talk about, as we said, the upcoming trainings, the business of spinal decompression success. Some of you have 2 tables, but here's the difference. You want 3, you want 4, you want 5, you want 8, you want 10, you want 12, you want 13. You'll meet doctors at the National Spinal Decompression Certification who started with no tables. They attended the Cairo event, the same one that we're giving on Saturday, November 8th, with all new content, tools, materials, examples, and so incredible videos. You'll love it. 1,000 pages of content we're going to put in your hand. That's an incredible training because you real and doctors always say, what do I need? You need both. You need the science, you need the clinical, you need the research, you need the statistics, you need the medical management, and you need the proper training and documentation of which you get at the National Spinal Decompression Certification. Then you gotta go into business. Many of you are in business, you just want to build a better business. Go to Vegas, Cairo event, try to scoop up a seat. If there's any left, I hope there are. I really do. I really hope there's some left. I really do. Go there. It is the greatest way to really put the cherry on top of the whipped cream, on top of the hot fudge, on top of the ice cream for the calendar year of 2025. And to slingshot, literally slingshot 2026. That's the date. And then, of course, the big kahuna, the grand... the grand event of all events, the biggest, the best, the only one of its kind, the 13X National Spinal Decompression Certification. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all. Not a coincidence that back in the day, when we first taught it, first time back in 2012, it was really the genius of Dr. Salvatore LaRusso and Dr. Eric Kaplan that got together. Yeah, if you want to go back in the time capsule, and they said, spinal decompression is incredible, but guess what? It's kind of like the Wild West out there. Those were their words, not mine. What if we can credential it? What if we can certify it? What if we could teach it based upon the highest level of medical facts and findings from research facilities such as Johns Hopkins, from the Mayo Clinic, from Stanford University, and so much from Harvard, and so much more. Then you're going to see this in the brand new manual. Get your hand. I cannot wait. They already printed the manual, so they actually topped it out because they already know the amount of seats that they're releasing. They are getting close to the final end here. And this year, unlike any other years, unfortunately, we don't have any latitude this year to add additional seats, unlike prior years where Dr. Kaplan sometimes would literally beg the Trump National Club to squeeze in 5 more chairs. Not this year. The cap is the cap. Once it gets closed out, there's nothing that can be done. And we hope everybody that's in on the Zoom meeting, if you're not already registered, that you get a chance to attend the training of a lifetime. This is, if you go to decompressioncertified.org, this is actually the page that you're going to see. You could fill it out. Just go right to it, start putting in your information, and then you will get a confirmation, and then you'll get information. So, if you've ever been to Life University, there's so many great hotels there, right along Cobb Parkway, 41 right there. Go to the website, decompressioncertified.org. It is a training. It is a training unlike any other on the planet. And if you're fortunate enough, to grab a seat, you will see why. And it is, if you ask anybody that's ever attended, they will tell you, not an exaggeration, it's the single greatest day they've ever had as a chiropractor. Dr.
You know,
K?
one of the things, Perry, one of the things that I always talk to my doctors about, and I can't tell you how many times, how many X-rays or MRIs are reviewing a day. Can I treat this? Can I treat that? Can I treat this? You know what, doctors? What Dr. LaRusso taught you is, if you don't know the answer to what you can or cannot treat, that's another reason why you need to be at the nurse's certification. That's another reason why you need that education. Because let me tell you something, doctors, also, and I say this to my clients all the time, there's no such thing as bad leads. I love chiropractors say, oh, I had 8 new patients, but they were bad leads. There's no such things. Let me tell you what there is. There's a bad report of findings. There's bad closers. And you know, doctors, here's what I'm going to say to you. You went to school to be a doctor, not a salesman. You're not selling cars. You're a doctor. The better doctor you are, the easier it is to successfully get a patient to agree to care. We will teach you the 3 C's, the capture, the conversion, the close. So if you're not closing cases, it's not a bad lead. It's a bad report of findings. It's a bad report. And you have to take responsibility for that. But I will tell you this, as Dr. LaRusso said in his Genius, the better trained you are, and as Perry said with the care, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more of an authority you become. The more of an authority you become, the more respect you will get. And the more education you can provide the patient, again, with care, the more that they will follow you. I'm Dr. Eric Kaplan saying, if you're not there in October, don't blame me. But here's the question I'm going to ask you to leave with you tonight. What is one new patient worth to you? What's one new patient worth? I guarantee everybody that attends the national certification, I guarantee you, you will close one patient that would have walked away. I guarantee it. I'm Dr. Eric Kaplan with my personal guarantee. Worked with Dr. LaRusso for 40 years. Just don't go out to eat ribs with him. There's a future in chiropractic, but you know where the future is? It's right here, right now. Look at all of you people that spent your Tuesday night learning, while other people are out there worrying. Why was my day so slow? Why didn't I make enough money today? Why am I not the best? I'm going to tell you why. Because we have 30,000 chiropractors in our profession, maybe 40,000. You know what? And even if we had 100, 150 tonight, what I'm saying is, where was the other 39,000? Where were they tonight? You know where they were? They were whining and worrying and not working. So I acknowledge you for being here tonight. I acknowledge you for working. And remember, the secret to success is Dr. Kaplan's Handbook to Success. It's all in your head. Be the best, and the best will follow you. I'm Dr. Eric Kaplan saying thank you and good night.
Thank you, everybody. We cannot wait to see you on October 25th live at the National, the only one of its kind, Life University National Spinal Decompression Certification. This is absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, the single greatest time ever to be a chiropractor. I promise you, be there and you will be reminded of it, and you will have a game plan, you will have a playbook, and you will be ignited, ready to go back to your practice on Monday in a way you never have before. We cannot wait to see you. Dr. LaRusso, thank you, our dear friend, and we cannot wait to see you there as well. Thank you to everybody, and we will see you there live.
Good night.